Hi, good morning everyone. How are you doing? My name is Amandine Flachs and welcome to my channel. The format today is slightly different from what I used to do usually. I am joined by guests and especially early stage founders. We talk about the startup, we play some video games together. We also answer questions from you guys live. So today, as you can see, I'm on my own and I did a live AMA like that over Christmas. It was super fun, just for once to get to know you and what you are working on. And also, to be honest, there is no agenda. I was quite sick last week or the week before, and so I have super interesting guests coming in 2 weeks. But I didn't want to just keep this week live stream, so I thought let's do something really chill out. And we also started playing some video games just together, nothing like multiplayer games over Christmas, and I haven't touched the game since then. It's crazy, but I don't know. I like to finish a game, and when I'm into a game, I like to just go over it and play it completely until the end. And since we started Rise of the Tomb Raider just live with you, I thought I wanted to continue that and not play on my own. So we're still at the same, at the same level. I haven't touched it at all. So there are a few things I want to talk about. But then, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about your own startup, any project you're working on, just let me know in the chat. And otherwise, after a while, we'll be just switching to the game after at some time. As I said, there is no clear agenda or anything really lined up, so it's really going to be freestyle, AMA, chill out stream. I'm also glad to see Federico, you're here. Hi, I hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you around. I think we're clearly not in the right time zone together. I noticed that you started doing some live stream, and I think you do that regularly now. But for some reason, or well, for a reason that we know, that's the time zone. I got a notification at 5 a.m. on the morning, so when you're streaming, I am sleeping, so I can't just stop by, say hi or anything. That's a shame. I watched some of your replays sometime, but I haven't really been able to stop by and come commenting live or anything. But I hope it's going well for you. So for those who don't know the channel, as I mentioned earlier, usually I have some guests coming over. We talk about their own startup, the challenges they're facing, and it's super interesting for me to ask those questions, but also for people to be able to just ask questions live. And I like the fact that my guests are still, working on it. They haven't figured out everything. I invite only early stage companies, so I would say between pre-seed and Series A. So it's quite often startups that have launched a product already or are in the process of launching a product in the coming 6 months. They are working on sometimes on the technical aspect, sometimes they are less tech founders, really wide range of guests. But it's super interesting to see all those different background and how they got into building their own project. And I really enjoy asking those questions at an early stage. I don't want to invite people who have been doing this for 10 years and they're already successful and they can't really talk to you about what the step they are working on right now. It's more like, oh yeah, I did this 10 years ago and it worked, and I want to hear more about what people are struggling with right now. And I feel that if we start sharing, then that would be beneficial for everyone. Oh, I see we have a few follow here, so thank you. Let me get the name. I can't see the name really well from here. I see 2 follows, so I'm going to thank you in a minute as soon as I can see your name correctly. But thanks for joining. So I see Paul is here. Paul is the latest guest I had. He came with his co-founder Christian, and we had so much fun. They are the founders of Hypersay. So if you haven't been able to join for this live stream 2 weeks ago, check it out. The video is on YouTube, and it was really fun. Sometimes I don't really know my guests super well. We have a quick chat, a quick call or something. So I don't know really much about them personally, and they come, and then in a few minutes, I know if I will have to ask lots of questions or if they're going to be just naturally super fun and supernatural on camera. So that is, yeah, last 2 weeks ago, the last stream was just amazing and extremely fun. So thank you to I'm so bad with names. So thank you to Leben Jeffer. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but thanks for your follow on Twitch, and also thank you for Premistic. That's really cool to have you here. So Premistic asked, what are my thoughts on Google Stadia now? That's an interesting question. I haven't tried it, so my thought about Google Stadia is why not? Lots of people are moving to cloud gaming and experimenting with it. I haven't tried it myself, so I can't really tell you if I really like it or not. The idea, I would say, why not? But then I have heard so many reviews and feedback from people who tried it, and there are lots of questions around latency. So I would say I'm not against the idea, but I'm not sure if it's working extremely well right now. I think the first feedback were really, really poor, but then it got better. So I would love to try, but I haven't really had the need for now, and I haven't. So I will let you know if I have tried. Have you tried Google Stadia? Have you tried any game with Stadia? Let me know what you think, because yeah, I haven't really tried out. Luke, morning from London. Hi, good morning. I'm in London too. Hey, AD, that's good to see you here. So if some of you don't know AD, my friend AD is also doing lots of live stream. He used to be quite active on Twitch, but now he's more on YouTube, and he's doing lots of live stream for I would say technical people, but it's not even technical people. AD talks a lot about open source technology, tech, but not necessarily just for tech people. Yesterday we had a very interesting discussion on his channel. We talk about organizing online events, and especially right now with the coronavirus out there, all the main cities and many cities being just shut down, or lots of venue closing or not accepting large crowds, lots of events are in the situation where they have to find a solution. They have all the speakers lined up, and suddenly they have to go online. And we talked about this a lot yesterday with a few people over live stream. It was super interesting. So if you are in this situation, maybe as an event organizer, or if you're thinking about doing something online, either a small event or just having a discussion, check out the live stream we had. I think it should be on his channel. So Eddie, if you want to share your channel, feel free to do so. Oh, thank you, Eddie. Yeah, it was very nice for me to be just part of this discussion. It was a bit last minute, but I just loved it. And I can talk about my experience on about anything. So I just always love it. Premistic, what is your opinion on how Google marketed Stadia? Too much hype, but at the end a better product. Yeah, I think the communication, I don't know, I think they may have started communicating about it a bit too early when it was crap. And so because there were so many really bad reviews and feedback from people who tried it first I can't remember the event they started showcasing it, but I think once you are doing live demo like that, even if it's not out yet for everyone, it has to give a good impression, especially when you Google. You're not just a small startup showing an MVP that may have a few bugs or a few lags. So I think maybe they showcased it a bit too early, but I feel that after that, after a few months after their first launch, the technology itself worked better. So I think they have worked a lot on it, so why not? But yeah, I think I understand the hype, and also they're not the only one working on cloud gaming. So I don't mind about creating the hype around the product. It's just it was maybe a bit early. So you tried Steam Link, so you know about the idea, but can't talk about Stadia. I don't know anyone who has used Stadia, to be honest. I talked to some gamers some time, and for now, no one really talked to me about Stadia. So I think maybe it's for some people or for some setup or situation. But I don't know anyone that is like, oh yeah, I love Stadia. Luca is asking also, how are you connecting with startup founders in London? If it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a powerful tool, but I think when you have the chance to be in a big city like London, there's so many things going on for startups and so many ways to meet with founders. LinkedIn is a bit ad hoc and more of a way to follow up with people. So I don't know what you're working on, Luke, but there's so many events with so many specialty and smaller communities. So depending of if you're interested in the technology aspect, a specific vertical or industry, you always can find something for you. It's just it may take time because there's so many things going on. It may take some time to just understand where is a specific community meeting, what are the main hubs. So now that the events are cancelling more and more, it is actually more tricky, and I end up in this situation those days where my agenda is kind of clear for the coming weeks, especially in terms of events, and it never happened to me since I moved to London. I moved here about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I discovered this community aspect and embraced it. And since then, I think I've had most of the time I've had at least 1 or 2 events minimum a week. Sometimes you don't really feel like going out, so it's in your agenda but you don't really go there, but at least you know that if you want to meet with people you have lots of options. And now this is kind of empty, because everyone is just not accepting as the venue or not accepting crowd, or organizers prefers just to take some precautions. In some cities or in some countries it is now completely stopped. The countries are slowing down on events, and even for smaller events. In the UK, it's not yet the case, so you can still organize events, but people are not necessarily doing it or just taking precaution just in case, even if the government hasn't forced anyone. But on your question about LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot, but what I do is when I connect to some founders, I am just going to add them on my LinkedIn, and just it's going to be a way to keep in touch with them. Some of them are not necessarily active there, but at least they're part of my network somewhere. I don't have to keep track of everyone I meet on a big Excel spreadsheet or anything. So I use LinkedIn as a follow up, and also sometimes you meet with someone and you add them on LinkedIn because you don't have business cards. But I make sure that every time I add some people into situation, I make sure that I send them a follow up message on LinkedIn just saying, oh, it was nice to see you. Just as a reminder, I'm working on this, or maybe we can explore some synergies. Maybe we can have a coffee later on, or whatever. But just making sure that there is a follow up, because today it's so easy to just add someone on LinkedIn and done. And then you're not talking to them ever. So I don't think that's the point with LinkedIn anymore. It's not about having a massive network, but it's more about having a way of following up with people and also keeping track of what they're up to without having to exchange with them. There are lots of people you just want to see, have they launched their product, have they created some content, or whatever their updates are. You just want to keep track of that without necessarily having such a strong relation that you can send them a message every now and then just asking how they're doing. So but I really love LinkedIn. It's just it has to be used with a certain discipline, I think. Talking about events also, I mentioned that yesterday I was on Eddie's live stream, and I think the main points that we raised were that people shouldn't completely cancel their events. It's good to take precautions, but then why not just move the discussion online? There are many tools, many way of doing live streaming, and it's just a shame when, and it's also very annoying when you plan to go to an event and you receive an email, as we receive right now almost every day, just saying, oh, the event is cancelled or postponed. When you're really interested in the discussion and really look forward to hear from specific speakers, I think it's very important just to have some visibility for people. Otherwise, they will forget about the event, and all your efforts to marketing your event are worth nothing if at the end it's just cancelled. So I think it's quite important to keep in touch with your attendee, and even if you have to change plan at the last minute, people can understand. It's a situation for everyone at the moment. Everyone is just postponing, cancelling, but if you move your event online, you're actually not losing the people, and you have to think about many things. It's not super easy, but it's not also the end of the world. You can have something very simple. You can just do a few discussions online where people are remote, or you can just I don't know, have your office and do a short live stream or a series of live stream to cover the different discussions. Whatever you choose to do, I think you just need to keep the discussion going, because it's so just frustrating when you have no idea if something will happen at all or not. Maybe in 6 months, maybe not. And also you have many tools available, many people who are doing live stream, you can ask questions to. The thing is, you need to ask yourself the right questions about your events and where your audience is, what kind of tool you should use or platform for your own needs, but keep it simple, just make it happen. And also talk to your sponsors, because even for them, I think on the economical aspect, the coronavirus has a lot of different impacts, and just even for them, having a presence, even if it's moved online, will also be a big game changer. But yeah, I think also it's funny because of the situation, so many people are sharing their tips for working from home, and as someone who has been working from home for quite a few years now, it's really funny to see people discovering the joys and also the up and down of working from home. I don't know if some of you are right now working from home because their office is just closed, or if anyone has been working from home for many years. But it's really, really funny to see. I have some friends just saying, oh, I snack all the time. How can you just stop yourself? Or asking about home setup. And it's really funny to see because everyone is trying to share their own tips. So suddenly everyone became an influencer and became an expert on working from home. And this is a bit ridiculous, but in the same time it's really fun to see. Are you is anyone working right now from home and has been kind of bombarded or like received so many messages on that? I love working from home with the company I work for. It's so much nicer. I completely agree. I've been working from home for quite some time now, or at least have the flexibility. And recently, I had to be stuck in an office again, and the place ended up being a very toxic place. So I had a bad experience anyway. But just the fact that I was stuck behind a desk from the morning to the evening, it kind of messed up with my usual routine, and it was really weird. I always when I am in an office, I feel a bit stuck. Like I have to be behind my desk, and at the end, I was actually working in different places in the office, just going downstairs to work from a standing desk, or just to move around to have a bit of privacy, and also to be less like in a crowded room with everyone on the phone, and feeling a bit less stuck. I really like just having the flexibility, and the key point about working remotely is also being able to find a way that works best for you. So Luke says, I can go into the office when I want, but I find it harder to concentrate when I'm there. I completely get that. I am also someone quite social, or I guess because I've been working remotely for many years, when I am in the office, I feel that it's a great way to just connect with people. When I worked from a co-working space also, I'm always kind of open to networking, and so I don't necessarily focus, but also because I have the option to work from home when I need to be focused. Um, Paul, we've been working remotely for 5 years. It's fun to see new people. Now people discovering Slack and being marveled at it. Exactly, yes. You're like, come on, we've been using this technology and we've been telling everyone it's great to work remotely or to have the flexibility. I think it's funny, but I think lots of companies kind of struggle moving all the stack to a remote stack. And the lots of people ask me about it. Lots of people who, even before everyone was, like before the recent office shut down, lots of people ask me about what I think or how they could move the team or part of the team to being remote. And I've been super transparent with them. I told them that what I've seen before is that when the entire company is built around remote working, even if not everyone is remote, it works better because the communication is made for everyone to be quite transparent. There are many ways of sharing the information, while when you have a company that is built, where the entire culture is around being in the office, having face-to-face meeting, if you have one or two people being remote suddenly, it doesn't really work well. I've worked in many companies where you have different situation, and I've learned a lot from working in a company that was completely remote. And even if there were one office with lots of developers, they were mainly there, there was some communication issue with that with the other teams, but my team was completely remote, and it was just our organization. So it was a no-brainer. I had someone in Switzerland, someone in the US, and we had to use remote tools, and that was completely fine. As soon as the company is made for that and the communication is very transparent, I think problems happen when you have a lot of backlogs or habits of being in an office and not just one or two people are remote. It can be really hard for them because nothing is made for the communication to happen online. For people with disabilities like me, it also makes work less stressful having the flexibility. Indeed, having disabilities or even just people who have families also, you have less stress about being in the office at a specific time. And I think also in terms of productivity, you're not productive from 9 to 5 necessarily. I know that being in the office, some days when I'm stuck in an office, I feel that my productivity is quite down. There are distractions, and I can't just break the day. So when I am at home, someday if I just feel that I have a headache or I don't feel that I can concentrate on anything, just going out for a walk, doing a bit of sport at home, watching a short video, whatever, having a break really help. And it's about understanding what your body prefers or what your mind prefers. But I like the flexibility too, and that doesn't mean that I work less. I think actually I am more productive when I have the flexibility to choose my hours. Also being at home, that means that I work earlier, I think. When I was working in this company and we were completely remote, I think I was starting my day around 8:30. While when I'm in the office, I actually don't start the day until 9:30 or 10, because you need to get ready first. You can't just go to work in your pajamas. You need to go there, so you need to have a way of commuting or working there. And then once you arrive, you're not really in the mood to work straight away. So you get your coffee first. You're going to have a small chat with your colleagues. So I feel that I am able to achieve so much more just being at home. Do you have any specific routine or specific tips other than the one that you can find on every blog post today? Things that work really well for you? working remotely. I think for me, it's about having a routine and having ways of breaking the day. So I gonna always kind of cook something or eat something, but in another room. At lunchtime, and also at the end of the day, I have an activity that breaks the day. So I don't just move from my desk to the couch. I generally do a bit of sport, play some guitar, or do something that breaks the day, that kind of officialize that, okay, I'm done. Maybe I'm going to read an article later on the evening, because I'm never completely off, I guess. But just having an activity saying, okay, my to-do list for today, I'm not touching this anymore. Now maybe I'm going to read something, check out some emails, but I'm not in my work right now. I'm not in the office anymore. It's so important to switch off at certain time. It's so easy to work in the evening. Exactly, yeah. I think it depends on everyone. Some people are super productive on the morning. I don't know if they can do that. I would love to be able to like wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and then be super ready for the day. I just can't do that. 5 a.m. for me, it's a big no. I'm not a morning person. I don't mind waking up early, like I don't know, 7 something every day, and get to work by 8 or 7:30. But that's the earliest I can do. So Paul has 3 tips. Tip 1: have a completely open channel, voice ideally like on Discord, that people can join whenever they want. We call it the water cooler. Oh, I like that. I like this idea. Tip 2: have consistent morning meetings to keep everybody on track. Yes, I used to have those, not every morning, but I remember my Monday morning used to be about, okay, I wake up, I prepare my to do list for the week, and I'm ready to present that on the morning. Actually, the last company I was working with, they used to do something a bit similar but a bit crappy on Friday evening, and I felt that it was a bit like you're trying to keep people from going to the pub or going to their family or on weekend or whatever. I feel that on the morning, it's when you can be motivated also to do lots of things. So you know what people are working on, and you're gonna have a morning. At some point, I was also doing like a breakfast morning meetings where you have a meeting, but at the same time you have a croissant and coffee. So it's a meeting, but also it's not like you're stuck in a meeting room with nothing than grey walls around you. And you tip 3: invest in a good coffee machine for yourself. Yes. Yes, I'm actually drinking iced coffee right now, and I agree. Coffee is important, or tea, or whatever. And also, I would add to that: have some good healthy snacks. Just, I feel that when you're working from home, it's not about that you are next to your fridge, but it's also that you need to stand up for your productivity. You need to stand up to walk a bit in the room. It helps you think, seeing something else than your screen, and it helps you look at something else. Have a screen break, and well, if you're snacking candies all today, it doesn't work out. But if you're eating a bit of tomatoes here, and some healthy snacks, it can help. And also, something that people may not expect is that you don't move anymore. So your body doesn't need that much food as you used to. And that's something to consider. Um, it's you can snack, but you can't also like eat a lot and don't exercise and expect that it would be like when you're based in the office. You're at home, so you're really not moving. So doing a bit of exercising at some point or going to the gym at a specific time really help. Um, Luke says, I've tried waking up super early, like 5 a.m., but it's not for me. I don't know how people do it. It's not for me either. I think Eddie does that. Eddie, if you're still around, can you tell us what's your secret? How can you do that? Because I have no idea. I can't do it. Um, Hi, Ella. Ella, I just see that you just followed the channel. Great, thanks for your follow. How are you doing? Can you try a challenge? Well, I don't know. It depends. What kind of challenge do you have in mind? But yeah, it's quite funny actually to see suddenly all the people that are now sharing about working from home tips and how to make it work. It feels a bit like too much, and everyone is just trying to jump on it. Maybe I should do a video about that. I've been thinking about doing more videos um, about specific topics additionally to the live stream. The live stream are super fun, but also it's every 2 weeks, and I feel that just to grow the channel and to reach a broader audience, it could be useful to also have other type of videos. Um, AD, yes, more niche videos. I know you've been telling me about this for ages. I just need to do it. And actually, last year I wanted to do a series of video about the ecosystem and co-working spaces, accelerators in London, um, and uh, and it didn't happen. I can't remember why. I think I was into something else. I was just already struggling getting gas regularly, so didn't want to put too much pressure on that. But I want to do it. But now that all the co-working spaces are closed, I can't do this. So I need to have a list of evergreen content and other stuff. And also now that I have started my own startup a few months ago. Now that I'm working on it and facing kind of the other side of the table, um, I I can talk about this also. I have a lot to share on that, so I definitely need to do maybe with my co-founder something on this, maybe a regular follow up on how things go or the different steps. Oh, lots of questions about Sarkon. So first, I'd like to thank a few people who have been following suddenly. So Andy, MZ, and Jenny, thanks for joining. Good to see you here. Lots of questions about Sarkon. I don't know what Sarkon is. So I don't know Emma. I don't know what Sarkon is. Yeah. So I am not going because I have no idea what it is. But thanks for stopping by anyway. Um, so yes, be ready for more videos on the YouTube channel. Livestream is fun and it's really cool, but I feel that when you're not joining live, it doesn't necessarily attract lots of people, and there are lots of bits that we're sharing, especially my guests. They are sharing lots of tips when they come on the stream, and I try to do a shorter version of the discussion, but I don't have the time to just edit again and again, and also I don't want to have too many videos based on the same live stream, because if you have joined for the live stream and if you ask your own question to the guest and have been following the discussion, then it doesn't make sense to watch a shorter version or just a cut, because you already heard about this specific tips. So I generally I do one shorter video, and that's about it. And it's kind of a mix of the different points that have been made. So depending on the guest, I will highlight more of one thing or more of another aspect. Quite often it's about funny things I mention, anecdotes and things that can be super useful without being a super long explanation, something you can get really quickly. So this video are maybe maximum 5 minutes long, but I think they're working quite well, but to expand, it will make more sense to have broader discussions and talk about the startup scene as I've seen it. I feel that now I have enough experience to talk about lots of different stuff, so I just need to get my head around it and create a bit more content. Jenny, do you have a fun fact about yourself? Yes. I don't know. I'm not really a fun person. I don't consider myself as a fun person. So, fun fact. Well, usually when people ask me that, I mention that I have a YouTube and Twitch channel and I play video games with entrepreneurs every 2 weeks. So that's really the fun fact about me. But since we are now live, I guess it's not fun for you, right? Uh, no, I don't know. Fun fact. No. Maybe if you ask about a specific topic, but fun fact, I'm French. And I have a very French name, and I don't use fake names on any platform. So everywhere you can find me, it's always my full name. And even when I play games, even on Steam and everywhere, so I know people like to use um, made up names, and you kind of want to be anonymous online. But when you start using your real name everywhere, well, you don't have like a blast that you can use easily. So I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm not anonymous, so I'm just using my real name everywhere. Lord, that's cool. Yeah. I see Eddie put some emoji on the chat, and I know he did because yesterday you kind of mentioned that, yeah, I'm not fun, and that's okay. I got what you were saying yesterday. So Jenny's fun fact: you have a belly button phobia. Interesting. Federico, what was the first game you played? Well, I don't remember. I was a kid. When I was young, I was playing lots of video games. I had a Game Boy. I think I had most of them. I had the big gray Game Boy. It wasn't mine, but I used to use it. I had the Pocket, the Color, the Advance SP. I had most of them, all of them. Um, but so I can't remember exactly what was the first game. I think could have been Super Mario, or even Speedy Gonzales, or Tetris. No, it was Tetris. The first one, it was Tetris on the first big grey Game Boy. That may have been the first one, but I hate this game. I'm really bad at it. So I'm not passionate. And when I was a kid, it was even worse than today. So I think that may have been the first video game that I played. But I think the first video games that I played that I was really into was certainly Pokemon Blue version. I spent so many hours. I finished the game. I collected all the Pokemon, and I was really into this. So and I feel that I was into it, but I was a bit older. So when I was a kid, it was kind of has been to play Pokemon. It was like for kids, and I was so much into the RPG aspect and just collecting the badges and leveling up your game. So I think that the first game that I really enjoyed. First multiplayer game. Can't remember the name, but it was Crash Bandicoot. The one where you have to play with other people. Like it's lots of mini games. I can't remember the full name of this one, but I think that's the first multiplayer that I've played. Eddie, I always enjoy geeking out with you. Thanks, me too. It is so fun every time, and just having this, lots of discussion and just open discussion is just so much fun. Thank you, Paolo, for your follow. That's really nice to see you here and to have you. And well, huge thanks for your follow. That's a lot of people joining, especially on Twitch. That's really cool to see you here. So for all the people that don't know much about the channel and what I used to do generally, I have quite often guests. So every 2 weeks I have guests coming over. We are on the couch over there, so the setup is quite different. We talk about my guest journey, so they are usually entrepreneurs, startup founders, and at an early stage in their journey. and we talk about the challenges they're facing, what they're working on. We talk about the startup itself, so we try to deep dive into how the business work, the business model behind it, the audience, the marketing, the technical aspects. And also in the middle of the interview we play some video games to break the ice, and also have fun, and also have a very transparent discussion. So it really helps relaxing and being more friendly. So it's kind of fun, and it's happening every 2 weeks on Saturday mornings. My next guest in 2 weeks are amazing. I really love them. I hope they won't cancel, because I know lots of people are stopping going out in London. So I hope they will be able to join me, because they are amazing. They are not entrepreneurs per se, but they have been in this ecosystem for years. They are super active, and I can't wait to just announce them, because they have so much energy. They kind of remind me of Eddie, who has so much energy that he shares this energy with other people. Well, those two people are the same. They are sharing a lot, so it's not just them being super energetic and moving around, but it's actually them giving you energy every time you talk to them. So I can't wait to just announce who will be joining me. If they can't join, I don't know what we'll be doing. Maybe another live discussion like that, maybe a specific topic, maybe a remote guest. I'm not sure yet. But then it's not like going to a big event, so there are less risks. So I hope people are still moving around. I really don't want London to be completely paralyzed and people not meeting with each other or anything happening. I love doing things online, and I absolutely don't mind moving my meetings to online, like video conference. But I really hope that there will still be a social aspect. Maybe not going to the pub, but like, a small group of people meeting with each other. I don't want everyone to be super isolated completely. I think it will slow down the entire country if it happened. Maybe more just happening online, I don't know. But if we can see also more live stream or more stuff going on, but that are interactive, where people can meet with each other, that would be really great. What is your teleconference toolkit? So it depends on the people I talk to. If they have a favorite one, I use their own favorite one, because I don't really mind. But for me, I like to use Hangout, because it is super straightforward. There is one tool that I really loved and that I used a lot before. It's called Whereabout. I think that's the new name. Back then it was called Appear In, but now it's Whereabout. And you have rooms, and if you pay, you can actually design your room, and you can have more people. I think you can have up to 12 people. But the free version, you can have, I think, 4 people in the same room. You just share a link, and basically you create a room. That means that when you're working in a company, for example, it's and you have regular meeting with the same people. I like the fact that you can just go to the room again. The link doesn't change every time. So with Hangout, you can't just create a link and that's your room, and everyone connecting to this link is in your room. So I like this tool because you just share it once, and then, because I don't know, you call it with your name, and then people that know that it's your room. So if you have a meeting with them, it's in this link and in this room, and I like that. And I think that's what I like. So Hangout, Whereabout. I'm not a big fan of Skype. It never worked for me, and I'm not talking about the technical aspect. I'm talking about the login. Just logging into Skype, it's a nightmare for me. So I really hate it. I used to use it a lot, but not anymore. And what else? Zoom, not a big fan, but it works. I don't like to have to download something and then it opens so many windows, and it doesn't work with the web browser that I use, so I need to switch to Chrome. I use a lot Opera and Brave as web browsers. By the way, if anyone is using Brave, I just sign up as a creator there. And it's funny, I'm trying to find many ways for people to support content creators for free. I don't like the idea of people having to send you tip or send you money to support the channel. And today there are more and more ways of helping content creators. Like you can watch ads for them, you can subscribe for free when you're, for example, on Twitch. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can have one subscribe for free per month, so you can support one content creator for free. So I always encourage people to use this. Brave, you can get tokens by watching ads, and then you can give those tokens to content creators. So I really like this one too. I recently downloaded it. I used to work in the blockchain space, so I knew about Brave for years, but I didn't really use it. And I always have been a big fan of Opera. I'm using mainly Opera GX and Brave right now. Oh, Federico, you're also a big fan of Opera and Brave. Yes. Any other tools that you think are super important for your tech stack, working remotely or just... I'm thinking about other things that I use. Well, there are the to-do lists. So for my own to-do list, I use a mix of Evernote, just notes on my computer, and also Google Drive. I use a lot Google Drive. I know lots of people are super fan of Notions, but I haven't been into it yet. Paul, do you think about using Discord as a Slack replacement for a regular startup team? I think it can work. Honestly, Discord and Slack are about the same. I was a bit disappointed this week. Slack didn't stop working for me. So I can have access to Slack on my phone, but Slack didn't work anymore with Opera. I don't know if it's just me, but suddenly you can't make it work. And I tried to download the app and I had an error, so it didn't work either. So Slack is good, but I feel that I have to stop the tab for Slack regularly because it's drowning my computer, and I don't like that. Discord is good. I think there are not necessarily secret tools that works for everyone. So depending on your team, depending on what everyone is using, it depends on if it works for everyone. That's fine. Especially for startups, like when you're 10 people or 20. Well, that's easy to migrate everyone. When you're a larger company or care a lot about privacy, I understand that this may not be the best options. When you want to secure your data or anything, or you install some rules, maybe just using something like Slack or Discord, and then you say, okay, we don't share any sensitive document over there, we use this. But it depends on the company policy and what you're dealing with also. If you really have to share sensitive information, if it is even sensitive at all. Like chat or group messaging, what do you like? I really like Discord. And Federico says Discord is more fun and versatile. Yeah, I think Discord is cool. Maybe I didn't join many good channels, so I used it a lot to join some crypto channels and some VR, AR chat when I was working in those different areas. But because I'm not into many discussions, it's not like it's open always on my computer, so I don't really check it out regularly. I try to keep some Slack channel open, but I have to reconnect regularly, which is a pain because it's just taking all my computer's compute, so it's super annoying for no reason. So I haven't found one that I love the most. I think it depends on the discussions you have. I love WhatsApp discussions, but then you're limited in terms of the number of people who can be in the room, and you don't have rooms, so it's just one big chat. But for small group of people, I would say for 20 to 50 people, it's quite nice. And Telegram like WhatsApp, you have everything in one go, so it can be interesting to use when you're on an event or in a city with some people, and then you need to connect and to exchange really quickly. I feel that it's more direct, so it's a kind of a replacement of grouped text, so that can be good. but then it depends on your use. What do you need it for? But then Discord versus Slack, I feel like it's more about the culture than a real choice, because in terms of functionalities, I don't see, from the startup perspective, I don't see a huge difference. I mean, you can create rooms, you can moderate, and you have access to a lot of things in terms of rights, who can do what. So it depends on who's in the group discussion, I guess. Apple or Android? I have an Android phone. I actually got my phone stolen a few weeks ago, I would say a month ago now. So I am now back with my Samsung S7, which I love, but I had a Google Pixel 4 a few months ago, and yeah, it was really good. I love the pictures, the quality of the image, video, and picture were amazing. But got it stolen, can't get any insurance or any money back on it, so I'm back to my former phone, which works really well. I mean, it's indestructible. I mean, I'm dropping it all the time, almost every day, and it works really well. It's not too slow, so that's fine. The battery doesn't last much, but I'm happy with it. I haven't had an Apple phone for years. I think the last one was the uh, iPhone 3S. I think so. Paul says, you mentioned about your previous toxic working place. Tell us more about it. Yes, that's correct. So the past few months have been quite a roller coaster for me. And I know it's so confusing for everyone I know. It's so hard for them to keep track with what I am doing, and I feel that it's a problem at the moment. It's a problem when I introduce myself. I try to make it short and clear, but for the people who have known me for quite some time, it's a nightmare. So basically, last year, for the entire year, I was developing a lot my network on the investment side. So I've been working with lots of startups as an independent consultant or part of the team for many years now. I've worked in different industries, but I wanted to be more involved with the more general startups, not necessarily be too specialized on one technology. I started being more involved with the investment side, so I was meeting with lots of VCs. I became a scout, and I was trying to find my way into this space and find another way to help startups without joining them at an operational role. And so I activated a lot my network. I did a lot of stuff in the startup scene, and then I had. So what happened is around December or November, I also decided to start my own startup. So I've identified a co-founder quite a long time ago, but it was never the right time for us to start something. When I was available, he wasn't. When he was available and ready to start something, I wasn't. So it was really hard. But at this moment, I was still job hunting and trying to find how to make the most of my skills. And he became ready to start something, and we had an idea that stick to our mind. So we were like, okay, let's do it. But in the same time, I was still job hunting, and as many of you know, well, when you start a business, you don't necessarily have revenue straight away. So I was thinking, okay, let's continue my job hunt. And I found an opportunity that I thought would be a really great way of combining me working in a startup and being super involved in the ecosystem. So I joined a company that let me help other startups, especially on the funding aspect, be the link and make the most of the network of investors that I built. I don't want to get too much into detail about why they are a toxic company, because I don't want to shame them or anything. There are some very good people working there, but let's say I think it's important for everyone when you're joining a company to keep in mind that the probation period isn't just for the company to evaluate you, but it's also for you to evaluate if the company is right. And I know the feeling. I mean, it's really messed up when you're job hunting, you're feeling really down, you doubt yourself, and then you find an opportunity, and you think, okay, you make some plan, right? And then you're quite excited, and eventually when you see some red flags, you don't necessarily want to see those red flags, because you're like, no, I should be happy. I have a job now. I have a bit more security. I can, have a regular income, and you want to enjoy that. But that means that you may not want to see the red flags, and when you start seeing them, it's really hard, because you think, what's wrong with me, right? You've been job hunting, you find something that on paper is really good for you, and you're like, yeah, but there is this and that, and it doesn't make sense, and it worries me, or it makes the every day really hard to wake up and go there. And so I feel that I felt really bad about it, but also it was quite fast to realize that it wasn't for me. So the first day was not great, but then it happens quite often where the first day, okay, it's just a stress, it's not exactly as you want, but okay, fine. But then after a couple of weeks, I've seen lots of red flags, and I was like, that's not good. But I fought so hard to find a company where I could actually work with startups, support other people, that I was like, let's forget about it. Maybe it's nothing, but it wasn't nothing. And it's funny, because at the end I had my resignation letter ready, but I got fired the day I was um, hoping to send my resignation letter. So it's quite kind of funny. I was kind of pushing back and thinking, well, I have just 1 week notice period, so I'm still in my probation time. So it's like, let's wait until the end, or let's wait a bit to get a bit more revenue. But yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare, and I think it's hard to find the right fit, and there are many reasons for that. So an environment that might be not right for someone may be okay for someone else. It's just, you need to be aware of that. And I feel that today people are more understandable. When you're joining a company and it doesn't really work out, people today are more open to the idea that that's fine. You stayed a few weeks, you stayed a few months. They don't really know if it was a contract or if something happened, but I feel that it's okay. But maybe that's because I'm in London. In other cities, it may be slightly different and a bit more old school still. But I feel that right now in London, you stay 6 months, that's completely fine. And it's more about how you shape your narrative around it. But when you spot the red flag, I think it's important to kind of take a step back, and there are lots of things that you can do. Like, first thing is important that you understand that it's not just in your head, and the best way uh, to think it through and realize or think about it as, is it really real, or is it just me thinking this way because I'm unsecured, and I used to be job hunting, so I'm definitely unsecured. And I think the best way to do that could be to think about it in a very neutral way, less emotional. Like, if you're practicing talking to someone, you may not want to share it with someone, but just thinking about how you will articulate it to someone who doesn't feel or is not in the situation can be helpful, to just put some words into the feelings. And that is important to assess the situation. And also, if you can talk to anyone else in the company, sometimes it's hard, especially in the UK. People kind of have this appearance where everyone looks happy, but they may not be. So if you can find at least one or two people to talk to, that can be super helpful. Not necessarily to bitch about the company, but just to talk about some doubts, or ask questions how they feel about that. Is this just you, or do they also feel that this may be a bit weird? I'm definitely not encouraging about talking poorly about the company, especially because it becomes really quickly a situation where you talk bad and then you all feel crap. And I've been in this situation in a previous company a long time ago, and we were meeting regularly and talking about the company, and it's kind of never leaves you. It's always here, and that's really bad for your mental health. But finding someone where you can ask, I've noticed this, have you also noticed that? What do you feel about that? Can really be helpful. And then also plan your exit. That's okay. Plan your narrative, what you're going to say to people when they're going to ask you how things are going in your company. I think in my situation, what really was heartbreaking was that I was job hunting for quite some time, and lots of people that I knew were like super excited for me that I found a position that could help me, or that was a perfect fit. So basically, when I joined the company, I was quite excited, but also I was reaching out to the people that I met before who helped me at some point, just to say, hey, I have now found a company. And even if I spotted quickly a few things, I didn't want to say it publicly. So I was like, yes, that's a great fit, I can do this and that. And so I was kind of doing lots of marketing, right? So I was marketing myself and being like, I've worked really hard and now I got what I wanted. And even if it wasn't true, I was like super energetic. So lots of people were sharing back and were super excited for me and were quite vocal about that, which made the situation even worse, because in this situation you can't be like, yeah, well, actually it's not that perfect. Because people are super happy for you and send you congratulation messages. So this was a super tricky situation, but it was for just a few days or weeks. After that, I was super straightforward with people and saying, well, I'm actually now looking for an exit. And yeah, that was kind of tricky. But then in the same time, because I'm working on my own company on the side, and we haven't been public about it because it's still stealth mode, it's also tricky for people to understand what I'm up to right now. But hopefully it will be clarified soon. But it kind of affected me for quite some time, for quite a few weeks for that. Luke says, I moved to London last August and I'm just now feeling comfortable in the company. Yeah, it takes some time to find the right place and to feel comfortable, especially when you're moving from somewhere else. My biggest tip is talking to people you're working with if you're not happy. Exactly. Sharing and just not necessarily bitching, but just sharing your feeling with some people you can trust is helpful. And he says also pressure from family to make the job work out. Yes. And on that, I would say it's okay not to listen to your family. I think I have the chance that my family isn't around and doesn't get at all what I'm doing. So they don't expect anything from me, and they don't follow what I'm doing. I think it's been a few years now since they have no idea what's going on in my life. And I feel that's okay. I try to explain to them, but also I don't really see them in real life. So they don't try to ask too many questions if they don't get it. But I completely understand that there may be some pressure for some people from their family. I've always had this approach where I don't really care, and actually if people try to force me to do something, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And that's how, I know it's not good, but that's how I react. But I've seen lots of people who have lots of pressure from their family, and also who, you know, it's a bit like when your network when my network was happy for me. That's the same when your family is like trying to understand, ask you lots of questions, and send you messages that are supposed to be encouraging, but at the end it's putting some pressure. So it's not necessarily family being like, oh, you need to stay at your job or make it work, but sometimes, especially your parents, who may be from a different generation, or definitely from a different generation. A few years ago, you were staying a few years within the same company and you changed company maybe a few times in your career. Now you're more jumping between one job to another really quickly. You progress faster, you may be learning new skills, or you don't necessarily apply the skills that you learned at school. But that's something that may be difficult for people to understand. And also, if people are working in tech, family doesn't necessarily understand tech always. So it might be also a situation where, yeah, it's your family, even without necessarily trying to put pressure on you, puts pressure on you, and at the end, they don't necessarily know your life. It's even if they're your family and even if you're very close to them, it's your life at the end, and you will always find a way to explain them what you want to do, how you want to do it. And it's a discussion to have, but I think if you start just basing what you want to do on your family pressure on, or think about the expectation, you can't really just think about what you want to do, and it's completely fine to be selfish. Think about you, your own happiness. You're not going to stay stuck in a situation, and if your situation is kind of or looks unstable, well, fine. I mean, who cares? If you at the end you can make it work and are happy about it. I've worked as an independent consultant for quite a few years. That means that quite often for a few months I was doing quite well, and then for a few months I wasn't working on a specific project, more looking for new clients. And that can be hard for some people. It doesn't work for everyone, but it worked for me, and some people didn't really get that, and wouldn't like to be in this situation. So what works for you, that really is important. Mary Lee, okay, so I have a few questions here. So first, Luke, who says, I joined one of the big accounting firms and the culture shock was huge. Yeah, I couldn't. I've worked all my life with startups, and I can imagine. Culture is something that is hard to get, right? It's something you experience, and even if companies put on paper or put some words on the culture, it's really hard to really know if it works for you and how it really translates in real life. What do we have? Merrily Human says, if you have always done the opposite of what people suggested, then you have trained your family to avoid speaking about things they disapprove of. It's called negative punishment in psychology. Okay. Don't know much about psychology. I think you're right, but I don't think I've really trained my family, because it's not just about family. It's not necessarily about pressure. What I've done, it has been more about the logical choice or the best choice, or expectation. It's more about doing what I want, but yeah, I get what you say indeed, and that's why at the end it has to work for you more than for other people. AD says, love the honest discussion. Yeah, I didn't, as I mentioned before, I didn't had any plan for today's live stream. I have a few thoughts on different stuff, but that's about it. I mean, I plan a game at some point if we want to play some video game, and that's the idea, right? Live AMA, just freestyle discussion, and I love to hear from you. I'm super happy to have the opportunity to sit down with the chat, because when I am with my guest, I can't just spend too much time talking with you. I'm already managing my guest and all my questions, trying to have a flow that works for everyone. So it's really cool to have a discussion. Merely Human, my comment wasn't the fact that they don't often ask you questions anymore. That is the reason. Yeah, well, I think when you are also in very different spaces, working in a different environment, and also not geographically close to your family, you have other priorities. So my family, for example, they know that I'm doing okay. I mean, when I have them on the phone, I don't necessarily complain about specific stuff, or I'm not like, I sound happy, and so for them that's the most important. And because we don't see each other regularly, I think I haven't seen them for at least 2 years, 3 maybe. And they're not really far away. I mean, they're in another country, but it's not super far away. But we are on the phone regularly, and we talk about more important stuff than just, oh, I don't get what you're doing, So as soon as I'm happy, they are happy. We talk about stuff like what's going on in general with our lives, what makes us happy. So we don't end up in this situation where we meet every week and we have to talk about something and go into detail on what happened this week, you know. So I think also that helps. Every family is different and everyone has different relation. So that's what I was mentioning, that, you know, think about yourself. But yeah, I think it's the interesting dynamic here. So you're currently in school for a double major in psychology and philosophy. Interesting. Luke says, my family wanted me to be happy more than anything, better than the pressure of doing a specific career. Yeah, I think that's the most important at the end, right? I know that some families are kind of fighting about some choices you make, but well, at the end, when you're an adult, they're not here every day. So it's more about putting the foundations right, and it's okay not to understand the details of what everyone is doing. As soon as you know they're doing fine, and you can have a nice exchange on other stuff. So Merrily Human says, when avoiding the subject, you show them positive feedback, good mood. When the subject thinks that conflict with you in your past, it was negative. This is a form of reinforcement training. Well, we're learning a lot, but thanks. I don't know anything about psychology, so thanks for your input, Merrily Human. Eddie also has a random question. How do you how do your stats look across the platform? I am interested to see which one is your most active. Um, hmm. I think the most active platform is definitely for me Twitter, but not in terms of the live stream. So, in terms of the stats, I think it's funny. I still haven't get my head around what works best. As you know, I am using Restream, and for my usual streams, I stream across YouTube, Twitch, um, Facebook when it works. For some reason, it didn't work over the past few months. LinkedIn Live and Twitter Periscope. So that's lots of platforms, and the problem I have is that some of those platforms don't really track really well the stats. So I know my stat for Twitch and YouTube, and I would say YouTube works better. But then some people are really regular on Twitch. So there are a few people that are coming regularly, and those are quite often on Twitch, which is very nice to see. But YouTube works better for me, and I guess that's because my audience is kind of more used to YouTube. LinkedIn works really well too. LinkedIn Live. The problem is that I don't have much interaction because I'm not using my phone to live stream on YouTube. There are no direct interaction. There is no chat. It's connected to Restream, so I should have access to the chat if anyone comment on it. But no one is really active there. So I have lots of views, but I don't really know much more about the number of people who watch the stream for more than a minute or 2 minutes, I think. But that's about it. So that's a problem with LinkedIn. And that's a problem when you're live streaming to many platforms, because your community is a bit divided, but also you have access to a broader audience. So on LinkedIn, what I like is, and I know it could be annoying, all my network, like all my contacts, have a notification when I go live. That means that even if they are not on Twitter and not following me on Twitter, they know that I'm doing a live stream. They have the name of my guest and they have a notification. So I like that. But then I have no way to know if they are actually sticking around or not. And because no one is really actively asking questions on LinkedIn, I don't really know. Then for YouTube, I really like YouTube. But I'm still a baby on YouTube. I have not many followers there. By the way, if anyone wants to support the channel, check out YouTube and follow the channel there. I need to create more content, and I need to grow the channel because I feel that my stats are quite good in terms of followers versus views, and the views are growing. But still, it's not. It's too small to have a wider impact. Um, Balen biscuit. I know with my accent, the names are even worse. What do you normally discuss, and what is your YouTube channel name? So my YouTube channel is just my name that I use everywhere. Like everywhere is just my name. So I'm going to put it on the chat right here. I know there is no automatic command, so if you do exclamation point YouTube, you don't have anything. Same if you do exclamation point Discord, nothing happened. Everything is just on the description. But if you type my name, you should have access to all my channels. So usually I discuss startups and I have guests coming over. So the couch over there, we have a setup that is quite different just over there. And I have early stage founders coming and we discuss for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We talk about their own startup, their own journey, the challenges they're facing, what they're going through, how they are facing those different steps. We talk about everything from funding, from deep diving into the business model of the company, growth, how they're doing marketing, the technical aspects sometimes. So a bit of everything, and we take live questions. So quite often I have lots of questions planned for them. But then if they want to talk about a specific topic, or if anyone in the chat has any specific questions, we just talk about it and answer the questions. And quite often I manage to link between the question from the audience and my own list of questions, also to make it more general. So sometimes someone asks about a specific situation and I manage to bring the conversation to something that can be more useful to everyone. By the way, thank you very much, Balen Biscuit, for your follow on Twitch. And also, that's lots of different follows. So thanks to everyone again for your follow on Twitch. I haven't checked out YouTube, but that's really cool to have your support. So the live stream I usually host are every 2 weeks. But I'm planning on doing more videos. I don't know about doing more live stream, maybe. I'd love to have maybe more remote live stream. It's a lot of coordination to get people to come here. It doesn't sound like much, but having an entrepreneur coming here every 2 weeks, the pain point is actually to have people booking a date on the agenda. For me, preparing the discussion takes a bit of time, but I can do it anytime. But just finding the moment for them to be available, and also because we are talking about early stage startups, they have their own constraints, and for them that means that appearing on a live stream is a big deal, but not because I don't have a big audience, so it's not in terms of audience, but you're going out there, you're talking about what you're working on. Depending on the stage, you may have been more or less experience on that front, but you need to think about this content. You can reuse it yourself, and so I also want for my guests to find this useful. It's not just for them to talk about where they are right now, but if they are preparing a product launch, well, I want to make it work for them. I want to this interview to be useful for them too on their marketing perspective. So I like to do this before a product launch, just after a product launch, so we can talk about the experience, or we can create a bit more of communication around this specific stage they are at. Any business or specific field? No, I try to diversify the type of fields and industry. In terms of stage, it's quite often between pre-seed and Series A, so quite early. Sometimes they have received some investment, sometimes they have launched their product already, sometimes it has been out for quite a few years. It really depends. But in terms of industry, I try to change industry every 2 weeks, so I don't want to do too many fintech startups in a row, for example. Because I think it's more interesting to just hear from different type of business model, different type of challenges. So I try to vary. I have personally some big love for deep tech startups, but it's really hard to get early stage deep tech startups coming on board, and I don't want it also to get too technical or anything, and deep tech founders may not want also that. So yeah, I try just to vary the type of guest I have, and making sure that I have also people with different type of background. So it is very tempting when you have to book lots of guests to just tap into one type of network and be like, I don't know, asking people or from other people from their networking or from the network or from their co-working space or whatever, but then you can quickly end up with the same type of companies. So I try to really diversify the type of guest, the stories, having more creative people some days, more technical people other days, so we can all have interesting discussion, and it's not always the same type of answers. There are some questions that are coming regularly, either from me or from the viewers. For example, I had a few times people asking about if you need a degree to start a business, or about building apps, or testing your ideas. And when you have those questions coming regularly, if you have the same type of guest who have the same answers, it's not interesting. So that's why also I like to have different type of experience and anecdotes and people who have something to share. And also because I'm focusing on early stage startups, sometimes the founders have different stories and different perspective, but also they need to have enough experience to be able to talk about this. So if it's a startup that is working on something super interesting, but they haven't really reached a stage where they are out there talking to their audience, or they haven't done enough, so we can have a full discussion about it. That's something I need to assess before booking them on the stream. So the main pain point at the moment is still to book founders. I have lots of them in my network, and I meet all the time many of them, but just having them to commit on a specific date is a real challenge. So that's why having different type of content from time to time, trying to experiment with that. So be ready for more maybe videos or stuff in the coming few months, I would say. And as I said earlier, because now also I'm experiencing building my own startup, so being on the other side, until now I've been working with early stage founders, so I know a lot about what they're going through, but I haven't been in this situation really. So now that I am, also I want to share some of those experience with the broader audience. So yeah, I will try to experiment with that in the coming months. I just need to, get it right, experiment, and just get started. I'm sure Eddie would say, yeah, you just need to get started. Just put a video out there this afternoon. But we'll see. Also, Merely, you mentioned my accent, and I feel that when you are not a native English speaker, it's also slightly harder to put yourself out there because you are very critical about what you say and how you say it. You make some mistakes, you sometimes mispronounce something, and doing videos, that's why I love Livestream, because doing videos and editing the video, you always want it to be good and perfect. And so if you spot a mistake, if you realize that you mispronounce something, you're like, oh shit, I need to redo it, or I need to cut it, and you're never really happy about your take. I think it makes things worse. Or you made this face that is really weird, or whatever. But for the face, it happened to everyone. So yeah, Eddie, get started this afternoon. Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself. Well, it's not being too hard, but I think it's. I had this discussion with a friend earlier this week. When you're putting content out there, you're putting also your brand and your own name, and that's the hardest part. So it's not just about what you think about yourself. It's more about your expectation of what you want to share and the quality of what you want to share. I feel that for me, video and live stream is easier because it's live anyway. So it's done. can't change anything, can't repronounce something. But when I was trying at some point to write content, and it didn't work out for me because I always wanted to change some things, to double check every sentences, so it was a nightmare for that. But I guess it's about finding the best way that works for you. But yeah, it's about the quality of what you put out there. But we'll see. I'll be experimenting anyway, so I'm planning on doing a list of topics. If you have any topics that you want me to talk about over some videos, some days, let me know. And either right now or on Twitter. Twitter is generally my main channel where you can find me and just ask anything anytime. I'm always on Twitter. Weekend, weekdays, morning, evenings. Twitter is my thing. What channel do you prefer, everyone? Is there anyone that also is a big Twitter addict, or do you have a specific channel, or am I just the only one just staying such a big fan of Twitter? I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to make my Twitter active all the time. It's not necessarily just about being active, but it's also that I have this habit of just scheduling my tweets. I've done this for years now, and I don't schedule all my tweets, but just the news. So what happened is that every morning I read lots of news. So that's how I start the day. During my breakfast, I read the international news, and then to get ready into my day, I check Twitter, but I also read many publications. So tech publication, startup publication, and then I go into more specific, depending on what I'm working on. I'm going to read industry-specific publications. And so because I read the news anyway, I am, in the same time, I am sharing and scheduling the news that I find the most interesting for my Twitter. So during the entire day, there will be publication shared on my Twitter. So for Eddie, it's Twitter and YouTube. Yeah, unlike YouTube, I think I don't understand everything on YouTube. Like there is this story thing now, and the fact that you can share messages with your community. I don't know if it's because I'm a small channel, so I don't have all the features, or if it's something else, but I don't think it looks really good. I can't manage to add pictures to this. I don't know. I find it really hard to build a community or to be really active apart from adding a new video, adding a live stream, or answering some comments. I don't really understand how you can get people active on it otherwise. Yeah, you don't get the stories either. Yeah, I don't know. You have a bigger channel, so maybe you have more features. I feel that sometimes I don't have everything, all the features to make it work. When I see those big channels sharing short videos and teasers and it appears everywhere, I feel that I just don't have the feature on my channel. I'm not sure. Luke says, market research for startups, finding out if your idea is actually a good idea. Yes, sounds good. I am putting some notes here. So, market research. If I don't take notes, because there have been lots of messages on the chat, I definitely never find it. So, market research, how your idea is a good one. It's interesting actually with Paul and Christian. We talked about it last live stream. So if you're especially interested in this question, I did a short highlight mentioning some of their tips for that. So check it out. But definitely happy to do a video just for that. I have two friends that are specialized in that, and I will definitely pick their brain because they have not just tips but real techniques like paths and steps, and I think part of the job is actually to help people with that. So I will definitely ask them about it. because they are amazing on this, and it's more than just, oh, try this and that. There is a real plan on how you actually do test your idea. Luke says, I'm so behind with social media. It's hard to be everywhere. I don't think you can be everywhere. You have to choose what best works for you, and also you can't just build your audience on every platform. Like for me, it's definitely Twitter, and I'm not going to try to be more professional on LinkedIn or well, I use it to follow with people, but that's about it. Like Facebook, lots of people add me on Facebook, especially people that maybe I've met or that I've seen somewhere online, or maybe I'm connected with on Twitter or other platforms, and suddenly they add me on Facebook, and I'm like, well, no. I don't share much on Facebook. I use lots of Facebook groups, so I find the groups very interesting and still very active. So I do some promotion there. I promote the channel. I promote the coming live stream there. Sometimes I'm part of some discussions, but I'm not connecting with people. Like I keep this for my family or people that I really know, but that's about it. I don't really get it much more than that. I try with Instagram. I really try. I'm not really good at it, but I'm trying. I don't really like to take selfies or post pictures of myself necessarily. Like I'm not like one of the some people that take picture of themselves whatever they do, or take picture of every food I cook and I eat. So I don't know. I don't really know what to post. So I post some time on Instagram. I try to do a bit of stories, especially when I'm part of some live stream or interviews or discussion, or when I go to an event and want to talk about it. But I need to do a bit more. I think it works for many people on Instagram. I just, yeah, whatever I do, it's not super visual in what it is, and I don't know. I don't necessarily want to be like posting everything I do on the weekend, and many things just involve being on my computer anyway. So, so Luke favorite is LinkedIn. I don't get what to post on Twitter. Yeah, I get that. I think it's a case for many people. You read Twitter, but you don't necessarily post many things. Um, I like Twitter because you can interact with people, and I feel that even if some people may looks like VIP or whatever, you can have a discussion with other people, and it's no one really cares about who you are or what you're doing. If you have something to say in a conversation, you just say it. And you can find very interesting discussion and build relations this way just by exchanging regularly messages. I've met some people offline after exchanging with them for years on Twitter, and it's an amazing feeling. Like you're like, we know each other, but you don't really know each other. And it's not like Instagram when you're following an influencer and you know everything about the day because they're posting picture. With Twitter, when it happened to me, it was more like we have a relation on Twitter, so we exchange a few messages privately. We've been on the same thread, we've been exchanging the same type of content, and then one day you meet them and you're like, yeah, we know each other. But meeting them is just an amazing feeling. Hi, Lost in Music. Thanks for your follow. Good to have you here. How are you doing? Did you just arrive, or have you been here around for a few minutes already? I don't check live who is where. Also because we are on a few different channels. We are on Twitch and YouTube at the same time right now. Not Facebook, not LinkedIn, not Twitter as I used to. Just YouTube and Twitch for today. I'm a big fan of Twitch. I really love what they're doing for the community aspect, community building. I wish that those all the other platforms that we mentioned were doing more for the community building aspect, like Twitch. I think they're really proactive on this front, always adding new features. I know it's quite annoying when you're going to Twitch and you're like, oh, there is this new feature, and because there are always something new, you don't really get to know how to use them properly, or you have to have lots of setup to do on the streaming perspective. Like for example, I have points, so like with many channel, if you watch the stream, you collect points, but I haven't set anything for rewarding people who have points, so you can't really use your point on my channel, I think, at the moment. I don't have emoticons or anything, because I just haven't had the time to do it. But it's really good to see so many ways for people to interact, and so many innovations, so many new plugins. And I feel that in terms of community building, that's one of the few channels where you can actually do a lot and you have so many options. Like I feel YouTube is quite restrictive on this front. People can't really add you as a friend, they can just subscribe to your channel. When you are a bigger channel, you have more options. You have like super chat, you have I think you have a point system also, maybe, or you have a way to subscribe, like support someone. But it's still ad hoc things. While Twitch has been super proactive on this, and you have also the free Amazon Prime subscribe. You have now you have like a train, I think, a sub train where you have lots of followers and subscriber in a row. Like it's so innovative all the time. Federico, what do you use to stream? So in terms of software, I use Streamlabs and then Restream. So I use a combination. So my Streamlabs just send the video and the audio to one thing. That's it. So it just send it to Restream, and then Restream does the spreading into the different channel. So I find the system quite useful. I know that not everyone likes it because it kind of divides your audience also. But I have also a tool. It's a Restream chat that brings together the chat from the different platforms. But it works okay. I mean, for the analytical aspect, it's really hard because I don't see live how many people are watching where, because this features doesn't really work really well. But that's for the software aspect. In terms of the hardware, I have a blue Yeti for the mic that I really love. I really love this mic. It works really well. I think the quality is really nice, and I really like it. It's super easy to set up. Then I have my webcam, which is a Logitech C920. It's okay. I think it's what most streamers are using. I would love to have a real camera because when I have guests coming, you can see that I'm always a bit blurry. And what happens is that you always have focus problem with this webcam. So when you are a streamer and you're just in front of your webcam, it works fine. You know, it's just you, so it's really easy. But the problem comes when you have more people coming. So when we are two, quite often I am a bit blurry. But the worst is when we are three. When we are three people, so when I have two guests plus me, it's really hard to just keep the focus. So if someone moves their hand, or if we are not aligned perfectly, then I will be very, very blurry quite often. And you can see it on the thumbnail. So the way I do the thumbnail is I take some screenshots from the live stream, and I just take the best pose from everyone and then create a thumbnail out of that. And because I have to zoom a bit on the faces, you can see that I am super blurry quite often if you zoom on the thumbnail because of that. So also the problem with webcam is the colors. It's a bit like faded, and I wish I could have a bit more of like pop, have a less faded image, something that is a bit brighter, something that has more punch into it. So for that, I'd love to have a real camera. But it's a bit of investment, right? You have to buy the camera. You also have to buy the encoder. So yeah, it's a bit of a setup. So we'll see. I would like to invest in this, and that would be the only thing I would really need to invest in. So Luke has the same webcam and you can change color settings. Yeah, I know you can change color settings, but it's not really about, I don't think it's really about saturation, you know. I don't know. I try to play around a bit with the settings. I also try to make sure I have enough light, but I don't know. Also, the fact that it's blurry, even if I manage to make it pop a bit more, we will always have the problem where I'm always blurry. And it's always me. Also, for light, it's kind of tricky. I am super pale. So depending of my guest, it can really become quickly like lots of shiny light coming from my face. But I try to tweak something every time, so hopefully we will get there and we will improve all the time. I think that's the beauty, and that's what I like about live streaming. You always want to tweak something and change something, and it's fun, and it's about the journey. It's not about getting it super nice and super right from day one. So Eddie says a DCLR mirrorless makes a big difference, especially with a good lens. It does, yes. And I know the day when I'm ready to invest in something, I will definitely give you a call to advise me, because I don't know much about camera, and you have better definition indeed, as Luke mentioned. So yeah, you can also do more stuff out there. So I mentioned potentially doing more videos, and the thing is, right now with this setup, I am not mobile. So I was chatting with a friend a few weeks ago who is building a co-working space in London, and the space is really nice. And he was like, I was visiting the space and he was showing it to me, and he was like, oh, you could actually have your live stream here, and you could play video games in this huge screen with a projector and everything, and it looked super nice. But I told him clearly, my setup right now can't be moved at all. So I could imagine moving my mic. The microphone is okay, it's not that big, so it can be moved. The webcam, it depends on the background, right? So I will need to have a super control light because the settings are quite limited. So it's kind of tricky for that. And then my computer, I cannot move it. It's extremely heavy. I have a desktop, and I don't think my Mac will really be okay with live streaming. I don't have a gaming laptop, and my desktop is not movable, like no way. So it's tricky. So if I had a DCLR, the day I invest in it, I will feel a bit more mobile, I think. You know, I could just pack a tripod and go to an event or go to a place and do it there. Maybe go to some of my guest office, maybe go to some co-working space, or even at an event, you know, you set up a space and you're like, well, let's just interview everyone pitching at this event, for example. So that could be interesting to do, and I love how Eddie can do this. He goes to lots of events. Well, he has a massive setup, like really cool setup, but it's super cool, and I think when you're mobile, it maybe gives you a bit more flexibility. I can do it with my phone. I wish I still had my Pixel 4 before it was stolen. I had it for just a few months, like I think I had it for 2 months. That's such a shame, because the camera was really good. Now my S7 is not bad, and I think it could do the job, but it's always a matter of the color of the image. I will need to do lots of work behind it. But maybe I could still do it with my phone. Just looks less good, and for a big nerd like me, yeah, the equipment makes a difference, and just because you want to geek around, to play with your settings, and to always have the best quality. So Eddie says at VidCon, that I missed. I missed the last VidCon. I've been to the last one, to the previous one last year with Eddie, and I missed this one. So at VidCon, they had some really good alternatives that were really well priced. I remember when we were both at VidCon the year before, we were like playing around with the Blackmagic camera. It was super pricey. It was really expensive, but God, it was good. Like, it was super light camera, and the quality was just amazing. And when you look at this huge setup with the right light, the right switch to switch camera and everything, and you're just like, I want this. It's a bit like, I guess, going to when you're a kid and you go to a toy shop. So first look question, what space was that called? I can't remember the name of the space. I think it's like ClickKernel space. It's not really open for now, so they're still doing some construction and it's not open to the public, so you can't just book the co-working space at the moment. Box, can I share with you my product idea? Sure, feel free to do so. I think lots of people try to keep their idea for themselves. They don't necessarily want to talk about it too publicly because they're worried that people will steal the idea. And I think as soon as you have an idea, starting talking about it really helps. Just sometimes to get the feedback or to get how people react. Just looking at the face, the question they ask. And also you need to practice a lot talking about your idea before you get the wording right. It might be the same idea, but just presenting your idea and thinking about how you formulate it. Please do feel free to share your product idea. Set up a permanent studio at the co-working space and rent it out when you are not using it, says Eddie. Yeah, that would be really cool. But there are lots of co-working space now that have a podcast setup, and I really love that. It's very professional. I don't know if it's really being used though. I'm wondering if it's easy enough to be used by anyone and if people are really using and making some of them. But I love the idea, and quite often you have a good lighting also, so you could film there if you don't mind filming in a with lots of like the arm for the microphone and lots of cables. If you don't mind like this setup that really looks like a podcast, you can find lots of co-working spaces that have this indeed. But then I will end up in the same situation. Does it worth it to do that when you just have a phone to film? I don't know, maybe. Luke says, I did a video production for my degree. I need to get back into it. Miss it so much. Yeah, I like to do editing sometimes when I have time, when I can be creative also. The thing is, with my usual format, I don't do too much editing because it is a side project, right? I'm doing lots of other things on the side, and so everything I experiment with for the channel, I have to think about how can I expand it the day I am busier. So right now I am less busy, but a few weeks ago I was working full-time plus working on my startup plus managing the channel. And so I need to think, okay, if I get on a new project, additionally to what I'm doing right now, I need to think about scaling what I'm doing with the channel. And so that's why I do limited editing. So I do the live stream, then I just cut the beginning where I have the waiting screen. And that's about it. And then I do the week after the shorter version. But I don't want to put myself to put myself in a position where I have to keep doing lots of work in terms of editing. But when it's about editing another type of video, like last year I went to San Francisco for a short weekend for a super cool event. I did some short videos here and there, and then I combined everything, and it was just so much fun. So I also like doing some post-prod and working on the videos afterward. Oh, Eddie has to go. Well, thank you so much, Eddie, for joining the stream. I really like that you're always stopping by and you always find a way to stop by and say hi or share your thoughts. So thanks for joining. I really love having you around. And yesterday, in your stream, we mentioned, having someone on your chat doing a bit of moderation, or kind of helping you applying your code of conduct. And I feel that in the channel, you are kind of the representation of and leading the way in terms of what is the best behavior. Like, you're always here cheering, asking questions, and you always make the discussion super interesting. So thanks a lot for being quite regularly on the channel and always stopping by, and also supporting, like, everywhere, social media here. Love it, really. Yes, just checking a few messages that I missed. Eddie was saying that he's a full stack open source web developer. Love doing lots of stuff on the DevRel side. But yeah, check out Eddie's channel if you're interested more into developer relations and open source code. He does lots of live stream and videos. Wow, it's already 12:30 here. And we haven't played video games. That's cool. I really like the fact that we managed to speak for almost 2 hours. That's super cool. I really love that. And feel free to let me know if, like Luke, there are any topics that you want to talk about, or in the coming months, if you want some videos about specific topics. I'll be super happy to do some research and dive more into some specific topics. Bugs, you haven't shared about your idea yet. Are you still trying to formulate it, or do you just want to talk about it one-to-one and don't want to share it on the chat? Either way, that's fine. It's up to you. I think it's quite interesting. I've been in the other side of the table for so many years that I knew that in theory, yes, it is hard to start talking about your idea, because I've seen so many founders being in this situation. But when you are eventually yourself in this exact same situation, you expect it, but you're like, oh, that's actually super exciting also, because you know what to expect, but you're now here in this situation where you have to formulate what you're working on, and it's really fun. I've been in this place, and for example, yesterday I had a few calls, and it was kind of challenging because for the first time someone was kind of deep diving into my idea and my project and the technical aspect, asking questions to my co-founder also. It was super challenging, but so exciting also. You're attentive to what kind of question they ask, and then afterward you think, is this positive? What do I need to work more on? What should I be ready to answer? And I just find it super stimulating. I know, maybe I'm just crazy, and it's like public speaking when you have questions and you don't know what to expect. I like this kind of stimulation where you have to think, and it made you think about some topics that you may not have been thinking about, or may not be super ready to talk about. And then you have to improvise something. And I think that's maybe something I will talk about in the future video. Starting talking about your idea. So I mentioned, I noted that Luke's asked a question about market research, how you get your idea, and how you make sure it's good, but also, yes, how you start talking about your idea. Okay, I did not have that. Oh, and I just noticed that we had a new follow from oh, that's going to be hard to pronounce. Proust? I can't pronounce that. If you have any tips on how to pronounce this, please let me know. But thanks for your follow on Twitch. That's really cool. So many people coming from Twitch today. That's really nice. Yeah, Luke, thanks for joining today. I'm really glad to see you. I think I've seen you on a previous live stream already. Your name rings a bell. But I don't really know what you're working on. I noticed that you're working on at a company in London. So what do you do? I hope we can meet one day in London. Yeah, definitely. Events are slowing down right now, so I'm not attending many events because they are being cancelled at the moment, which is super annoying. But I completely understand also, and if an event would happen, would I go there? I'm not sure at the moment. But definitely, yeah, maybe we can meet in London when things are slightly less crazy. You are working on a mental health e-learning startup. Oh, interesting. Okay. Lots of things happening with mental health and also sexual wellness. I think that both are kind of growing a lot in terms of startups that I see today. So that's good to see. And I think there are lots of things about working with an at a startup also. It's you know, I haven't really been talking too much about that, but mentioned earlier talking about working in a toxic environment, and I think there are lots of things that startup is not for everyone, but there are lots of things we can talk about around working at a startup. So you're working full time during the day, but you're working on your own project on your free time. Yes, that's really cool. That's really hard to make it work, but that's super cool. Not everyone managed to do this. I know lots of people who have ideas, but they really need to have a real break from the job. And I find it really great if you can make it work. I don't know which stage you are for your own project, but I also find it super motivating to be working on your own project and on your own stuff on the side. Like, it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy your job. It just means that everyone has lots of interest, and working on something on the side is just a way of being stimulated and just do your own thing. It's pretty cool. It's funny. A few weeks ago, I was working with a young guy, and he didn't know I was building my own startup additionally to my full-time job plus a YouTube channel. And just for the YouTube channel, it was like, how can you do your live stream every 2 weeks and takes the time for that while you're working full-time? And I told him, well, actually, I'm also building a startup on the side, plus being involved in the startup ecosystem, doing regular mentoring. And he was like, how can you just do that? And I asked him, what do you do on your free time? And he told me, well, I'm going to the gym like 5 times a week. Well, I don't go to the gym 5 times a week. I don't necessarily go out often on the weekend, like during the night. And it's just, I spend lots of time on my computer watching live stream and working on lots of stuff, and I just love it. But it's about what works for you. So that's really cool that you can work on your free time. So right now you're just building the project at this stage, and you love your full-time job. Yeah, I think it's funny that I've seen some people that think that when your employees are working on other stuff, it's bad, and that means that they are not engaged. And actually, I don't think that's the truth, especially right now when people are staying less longer, less like for shorter time within companies. You're not married to your company. You're not going to spend your entire life there. And being aware of that, that doesn't mean that you don't love your job. You may love what you're doing, but you also know that things change, especially with startups. You're joining at a specific stage, it works for you. When the company grows, when you're reaching another stage, it may not work for you, that's fine. And you may have lots of different passion. You love sport, do sport after work. You love being challenged and creating your project, that's completely fine. As soon as people find what's up for them, and it works for everyone, I think that's fine. But I've seen some entrepreneurs just having this mindset where, oh, you have your own project. Well, it doesn't work out because I want someone who is really committed. Doesn't mean that you're not committed, right? Just means that you have some other interests, like everyone. Being an employee is definitely not the bad thing. It's to give you stability and dignity, but you don't have to be there forever. Yeah, definitely. And I really want to stress that, especially when you're working in a startup, you have different. A startup is a roller coaster, and you have different stages, different pro, different cons, um, and it's also inspiring. You learn a lot from the people you work with. You work really closely with them, and it's really good to be part of the journey as an employee. And you can stay all your life an employee as soon as you have fun and it works for you. And it's also, I think, rewarding for your employer, so for the company and for the founders, if they inspire their employees to start their own business. I had a guest a few months ago. It was the founder of Vibio, the sex toy startup. And it was super interesting because she was mentioning that previously, before joining the company full time, she was working in a startup, and that the founders of the company really inspired her, and she learned a lot. And people in the company knew about what she was working on the side. They knew that she was building this sex toys company, and the company she was working in had nothing to do with this space. But she said that she was really inspired and supported by her colleagues, because it was also a startup and she was learning a lot from just being part of this journey. So I think as soon as everyone find what works for them, that's completely fine. I would be super excited to have and to be working with people who are just asking you questions about how you run the company, how you do that, and just because one day they want to do something similar. Especially, I see lots of young people being in this mindset where they are young, they want some experience, they want to learn more about either an industry or type of roles, and they join startup because they really want to learn about the startup life, the different things you have to deal with, and just for one day be ready to just start up something on their own. Luke says, I hate the starving artist mentality. Nothing worse than struggling with money and trying to launch a company and worrying about bills, rent. Yes. Yes, I get that. Well, because I was working as an independent before, I think I kind of detached myself, and I have been used to not receive an income every month for a few years now. So there are some up and down, and you kind of always have to find the right spot where you have enough money to feel comfortable living for a certain amount of time without incomes. But to be honest, I tried. So when I mentioned that I joined a company and then that was a bit toxic and then left, actually that was my plan. My plan was to build my startup, but because it's a very technical startup, my co-founder is now full-time, but even if I was working full-time on it, and I am technically right now, I couldn't really bring too much. Like, I can't really just full-time work on it and bring too much value, because we need first to build the technical aspect and the foundation. So I can help on many ways and start developing the relation and everything, but it's not the objective right now. So my plan was to actually take this full-time role, work and have a regular income for a couple of months, maybe a year, before joining full-time my startup, if we decide to, and if we're ready to take it further. But it's funny because it didn't work out as I wanted, because, well, I got fired and at the same time I was ready to leave. So it kind of puts things into perspective where you're like, well, that was a plan, so now what do I do? And I'm in the situation right now where I'm trying to find a way to make it work, but in the same time, I'm wondering if actually joining a company full-time would be the best solution, which I'm not sure. So that's why I'm exploring different things right now. But I completely get what you're saying, and you say, don't mean to sound insensitive, just doesn't work for me. No, I completely get that, and that's why I'm saying it has to work for you. So some people can't just put their head around working full-time and building their own project, and some people can just think about not getting incomes for a long amount of time. So it has to work for you, and then I think the strength of entrepreneurs is to be able to to just face whatever happened and find plan B, plan C, plan D. And so, you know, something doesn't work out, well, let's find another way to make it happen. And I think that's about the startup mindset and being an entrepreneur, and have an entrepreneurial mindset where, okay, doesn't work out, or my plan A isn't the plan that I can go for anymore, let's find plan C. So that's the approach I am into right now. But let me know how things go for you. Definitely, I want to hear more about your project and how things evolve on your end. Also, thank you, John Star, for your follow on Twitch. Welcome. I don't know if you've been here for a while or if you just arrived, but good to have you here today. Feel free to let us know what you're working on. I know that the title of the stream said Chill Out AMA plus Rise of the Tomb Raider, but we haven't just done an AMA and it's been 2 hours. So I think we are going to end the stream really soon. I mean, here it's 12:35, 38 exactly. So it's kind of lunchtime. I'm a bit hungry. So let's get some food. And so if some of you have joined the channel quite late, basically I usually host a live video stream where I interview early stage startup founders. We talk about business, we talk about their own journey, we talk about challenges they're facing, how they're facing it. We deep dive into how the business works itself, the business model, the different stages. So it's very open. We also play video games during the stream, and more importantly, we answer your questions. So the next stream will be in 2 weeks. My guests are amazing in 2 weeks. I can't wait to have them. I haven't yet announced the stream, and finger crossed they will still be able to join. Sometimes it happens, especially when you book your guests a bit in advance, as it was the case. Sometimes it happened, they have to cancel, but I hope it won't be the case because I really love those guests and I can't wait to announce them on social media. So the main social media where I am active are Twitter. I'm a bit active on LinkedIn, but the main is Twitter. I have 2 Twitter accounts. My personal Twitter account, Amandine Flachs, or the Twitter account of this specific format of interview called Entrepreneurs Playing Games. It's still a small Twitter account, but every time there is a new live stream, I will announce it there. So if you don't want to receive or to see too many of my tweets, you can also just subscribe to this Twitter account. Usually I also live stream on many channels, including Twitch, where I am a Twitch affiliate. So if you are an Amazon Prime just Amazon Prime subscriber, you can subscribe for free to 1 content creator per month. So if you're not using this, please make sure to make the most of it, whatever the channel you want to use it for. I'm also usually live on YouTube, so check out the channel. That's where you can find all my previous interviews. And there, in the coming months, there should be more videos about everything startups. So I try to do more shorter video and more different videos. Also, usually I do a bit of live stream on LinkedIn and sometimes Facebook and Twitter, but that's ad hoc. If you have to follow some channels, it's Twitch or YouTube. And it was a super fun morning today. So today was slightly different because it was just about an AMA. And we talked about many things. We talked about working in a toxic environment. We talked about working remotely. We talked about organizing online events and the best practices from my discussion last evening on Eddie's channel. And I really loved just taking the time to talk about you and what you're working on. So huge thanks to everyone who joined the discussion, everyone who has been sharing their own journey, what they're working on, and also do keep me updated on what you're up to. I know that in the usual format, when I have my guests with me, it's really hard to have a discussion together. I mean, I take your question for the guest, I ask them live, and we try to answer it, but we don't really have the time to sit down and just have some back and forth. So I will definitely be doing more of those live stream that was just kind of, freestyle, unscheduled, unplanned. Well, scheduled maybe, but unplanned for sure. And as I mentioned, well, we were supposed to play some video games, but we didn't really have the time for that. We spent the entire morning just chatting. So I love it. I really love it. Thank you, Luke. You just followed me on Twitter. Perfect. Thank you very much. That's where I am super active, every day, all the time. Like if I work on a project and my employer or someone wants to know what I am up to and if I'm actually working or having fun, like Twitter, like you can track everything I do on Twitter, and also I try to do some shout out to some cool project that I like. If I see some initiatives doing some really good stuff for the startup ecosystem, or if I come across some newsletter or resources or whatever, I try to give them a shout out. So that's also the best way to find some resources. Thanks to Austin Rivers for your follow on Twitch. Many people from Twitch today. That's great to have you here. I'm wondering if there is if the fact that the coronavirus kind of brings people home and people are working from home and staying at home, I'm wondering if it has any effect on people on watching Twitch or YouTube, because they are slightly less out there outside. It's really funny because the live stream always takes place on Saturday morning. So the time is always the same, the day is always the same. And there are lots of big differences in terms of who's active and available. So that's really cool to see more people online. Maybe the channel is just growing, or maybe it's just that today everyone is just inside. The weather is not great either anyway. It helps, I think. When I see the weather is a bit crap on Saturday morning and I have some guests coming over, I'm always quite happy because that means that people will have to choose between going out and staying in, and if the weather is not good, quite often they stay in and have more chance to stop by the live stream. Anyway, you look like the famous Mandy Muse. Oh, Drang, I don't know Mandy Muse. I guess I should say thank you, but I'm not sure because I don't know. So thanks, and thanks for your follow, Drang. Good to have you here. I don't know if you just arrived, but actually we are kind of wrapping up. I need to get some food, and it's been already 2 hours since we've been around. Maybe next time I'll do another live stream or something a bit more last minute to actually play some video games, or maybe not. But thanks to everyone for joining the stream today. So the next live stream will be with a guest, actually with 2 of them, and it will happen in 2 weeks. So usual format is just every 2 weeks, Saturday morning, mainly on YouTube and Twitch, and we talk everything startups. I have guests coming over, and I'm always happy to have chill out discussion. If you are yourself building a startup or thinking about your own project or want to talk about entrepreneurship or anything, feel free to connect. Check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Amandine Flachs. Going to put the link again in the chat. So if you can subscribe there, that's amazing. I'm trying to grow the channel, so anything that is super helpful, any subscribe, any like, any share, anything, let me know what you're working on. I hope to see you in 2 weeks. I'm not really good at wrapping up. Like, I feel that I'm rambling a bit and it's not good, but fine, that's the beauty of live stream. Federico, yeah, there is no commands. So if you do, I need to set them up because so many people are doing that, like exclamation point and Twitter. I think I need to do that at some point. So let me just put my Twitter there. I need to set them up. Exclamation point donate. Same, doesn't work. On Twitch, it's in the description. I have many links. Also, I mentioned before, I am a creator now on Brave, and I love every ways to support content creators that are free for the end users. Like, people are donating money. It's not something I'm really used to or that I would encourage. But everywhere that is free or require 5 minutes of your life or whatever that can support a content creator, I'm always up for that. If there is a way to watch ads for a creator or share something I got for free, I always do it. Like Amazon Prime, make sure to give it to a content creator. I'm using Brave, so that means that you can see ads and then you can give back the token that you get to content creators also. And any other way, if you find a cool way of doing that too, let me know. I know at some point there will be so many ways. It will be a bit too much, but that's I think the best way for people to engage. I see there is also another follow. I will never be able to stop the stream. Cogwork Mason, thanks for your follow on Twitch. Great to have you here today. I don't know if you just joined or if you've been around for quite some time, but thank you very much for joining and for your follow. So it's time to wrap up. As I said, you can follow the different channels and I'll be happy to continue the discussion. I'll be back for another stream in 2 weeks. And if you like this kind of format, like AMA, we can do more of those. We can do more AMA, like chill out stream, also more video game stream. I mean, I love video games, so if I can find a way or an excuse to play more, definitely up for that. I wish you all a fantastic weekend. I don't know what you're up to. Here the weather is a bit grey, so I was thinking about going out for a walk, but it might be a short walk because it may be raining soon. Well, it's London, right? So, I'm used to that. You look outside and it's like, we have a small window of 10 minutes to go out. But we'll see. And then I may be working on some stuff. There is an app I wanted to build for quite some time. So working on that at the moment. I need to find also a way of, finishing it, monetizing it, and then it should be out. So I'll let you know also when this is out. It will be really specific, so maybe not interesting for everyone, but it will be related to gaming, so keep an eye on the social media, and as soon as this app is ready to go, it's just a small project I'm working on, like kicking around, but I'll let you know. Anyway, time to wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining the stream. It was really fun for me, really interesting to hear more about what you're doing. I got to meet so many new people and new faces. I don't know if I can say new faces here. But anyway, it was a real pleasure, and I wish you a great weekend ahead. Thanks everyone for all your follow and on all the different platforms. And I hope to see you very soon later on. Thanks everyone. Bye.